So let's start, but let's start with the best part. Let's start with the kids. Let's start with what the kids can do. Kindergarten's a new frontier for us. SRSD is slowly getting scaled up or into schools in the States, largely because of the efforts of two groups that I'll mention later. This is the first soiree we've had with kindergarten, and this is in Tennessee. Now, the kindergarten teachers met with me via Skype and phone and so forth, and I thought they shouldn't be handwriting essays by the end of kindergarten. They should probably be doing story essays and dictating to the teacher. And several of the kindergarten teachers said, that'll be true for some of our kids and not true for others. Let us make the decision. Well, SRSD's always been built for teachers to make the decision, so they'd have to twist my arm. Let's look at what the kindergartners were doing toward the end of kindergarten. Now, that's 5 years old for most of them in the States. And they had been reading a lot about animals and pets, and the question they were given to respond to in writing was, would you like to have a bear as a pet? They learned to plan. This isn't the essay. I think this is pretty impressive planning from a 5-year-old. Topic introduction, no, he doesn't need to write it all out. I don't want a bear. You see some reasons coming. Watch for 3 reasons. They learn to be clear about what they believe and give at least 3 reasons. You'll see one student who is able to do even a bit more. This is what he wrote. No, I do not want a bear as a pet. It can eat me. It roars very loud. It can kill me. Now, this is kindergarten. Punctuation, clear sentences, clear meaning, and strong thought out reasons. This is the second plan. This student wants a bear. We're going to teach it karate. We're going to play with it. Let's read what we wrote. Yes, I do want a bear as a pet. I will teach him karate. He can play with me. Also, his fur is warm. Okay, 5 years old. Fantasy. Let's go with it. A bear as a pet. I have 2 more real quick. Yes, I want a bear as a pet. I like to make friends with them. I like to help them as a vet. Also, I get to clip their nails. Now, you can see some background that they've been reading about having pets and taking care of them. You can see it coming out, the background knowledge. No, I do not want a bear as a pet. They roar. They have sharp claws. They have sharp teeth. This is why I do not want a bear as a pet. An ending statement, a clear ending position, is another step up and not a step I expected from kindergartners. The teachers always modify the instruction, pushing some kids to do more, solidifying for some kids, this is what you can do now, let's celebrate it, and let's make it as much better as we can. And you can see that here. Okay, 2nd grader, 7 years old, typical writer, asked to write in class, should parents give their children money for good grades on their report cards? No, because parents aren't supposed to give money for their report cards and their grades. Actually, not bad for a 7-year-old. We have a good, clear sentence. We see some punctuation. Handwriting's not bad, but that's just it. No, and you're just not supposed to. After instruction, and this was only 8 to 10 lessons, but it was done well and done right, should teachers give students grades? Yes, I think teachers should give students grades. First, kids need it so they can see if they got 100. Okay, high-achieving kid here. Second, it would be much more easy if you give students a grade. That one needs a little revising, a little help, but we're on the right track. Finally, teachers would be proud of themselves if they give kids a grade. That's why teachers should give students grades. Now, the end, and I have all my parts. Now, this is a prompt out of nowhere for these kids. They have no background knowledge about giving grades except what they can think of. So it's pretty impressive, actually, for a 7-year-old. You are most familiar, if you've seen me present before or read any of our work, with SRSD for writing. But SRSD's been used for reading comprehension for 2 decades as well. And in our recent work, we have combined close reading for writing, close reading to learn, and writing to persuade or writing to show what you've learned. So let's take a very recent 5th grader, age 10. This is a struggling writer. Okay? Our average writers did even better than this, but look what he did. He read a text on uses of water and wrote, ways to save water, take a fast shower and take a quick bath. Another way to save water is by, instead of using the hose to clean the car, put water in a bucket to save water. But we need water to make medicine, fuel, and electricity. Look at all familiar to you? This is kind of a knowledge dumping. Look at what he learned. First, close reading of text. Now they had text in the pre-test. This is text later in the post-test. It's marked up. It's marked up for where are the big ideas that I might use as reasons to persuade people about saving the rainforest. It's marked up for explanations. Those are your R's and your E's you see up there. I have a big idea. How do I say more about it? How do I convince the reader even more strongly? It's marked up for intro. It's marked up for conclusion. And he's begun to number them. He thinks this will be reason 3. He thinks this will be reason 4, reason 5. Here's an explanation to go with reason 5. The stars, he found a lot, but he only had so much time to write. The stars are the ones he chose because he thought they would be the strongest for his readers. So not only has he closely read and marked up the text, he's evaluated the possible text content that he can use, and he's made decisions. He plans. He takes notes, how I'm going to open, a reason followed by an explanation. We're looking at this grade level for at least 3 reasons. Each reason should have at least 1 explanation. The kids love to blow the tops off their graphs and have more. He's going to have 1 explanation at first, then he finds a second, a reason 2. He's got 2 explanations and so forth and so on. He has also numbered them now. He took notes in this order, but he decides to open with this because he believes it's his strongest reason. We teach punch. Take that first reason and punch the reader. Have a hook to get their attention and punch them with something strong. So he's now ordered how he's going to present his arguments. Pretty impressive for a struggling reader and writer at this grade level. This is the essay, Totally Independent Writing. Hey everybody, I think it's important to save the rainforest. My first reason is the rainforests are being cut down, and the rainforest used to cover 14% of the earth, and now it is only covering 6% of the earth. Look at the complex sentence structure. No instruction on sentence structure. This can happen because students have more to say and because they've read a text that models some sentence structure for them, but this is not plagiarism. If you go back to that text, you will not find this exact wording anywhere in that text, but you will find these facts. Another important reason is the rainforest is very important. We need water to drink from the rainforest, and the rainforest gives us rain clouds last of all. We need the rainforest for medicines. Scientists study plants in the rainforest for medicines. Also, some of the medicine will help fight cancer. Now you know I think we should stop cutting down trees. It's important and we need medicines. He should have hit his other couple of key reasons, but this is independent writing number 1. Are we finished with him? Of course not. Where would you go next? But compared to where he started, and this is about 8 reading lessons, followed by about 7 or 8 writing lessons from what you've read, and this is what he can do alone. I'm not going to have time to read and share a high school argumentative writing paper with you. I will show you what they learn very quickly. We talk about stop and dare. You have to stop. You have to think about more than one side. You have to pick a side to defend. You have to pick a side to refute. This is full-blown argumentative writing. Examples of what kids can do with this are in our books and can be found online. That one also gets tremendous growth in students' ability to use text and to make cogent arguments and to refute opposing positions. Now let's do a conflict of interest disclaimer. We've been hit by Pied Pipers in education for forever. I remember one of the things that bothered me most when I was teaching in the schools was, here comes this year's fad, right? We had one year where we were not allowed to tell kids anything. We could only get them to ask good questions, and then we could answer their questions, but more importantly, we would try to get them to figure out the answer for themselves. Efficient? No. Effective? No. Within about 3 months, our principal said, just throw it all out and go back to teaching. And I'm like you, I'm tired of Pied Pipers. I'm tired of being told, you know, I've got something great for you. And so many of these people are making a career out of this. They're making a living out of this. So they have a conflict of interest in what they're proposing to you, in my opinion. We have really good jobs. I don't need to make a living off this, and I'm trying to give it away as much as possible. You may have read ahead of me. All of our books, which range about $23 to $25, $26 US dollars. All of our publishers have only worked with us if they've agreed that you can copy all the teacher materials and all the student materials all you want. One book a school can be enough. Each new set of strategies, including that reading, writing one I just put up there, that set, you can get them free online. The one I just put up there is on your handout. Here are others. I want to mention these two groups because the biggest cost in SRSD right now is getting teachers to know how to do it. It's that professional development, professional learning. It's a complex intervention. It takes really good, what I call practice-based professional development. Teachers get to use the materials hands-on. They go in the classroom, they do so much, they come back, they talk. These two groups are offering that. They're both nonprofits. I advise both. Voluntarily, I have no financial relationship with either of them. How did we get to that kind of writing? Well, it takes me 12 to 14 hours to teach teachers to do this. We have about another 20 minutes. So I'm going to give you an overview. Reading before writing. SRSD has always included that. Even when we weren't using source text, we read model texts or mentor texts or whatever you like to call them as a teacher. There's so many names right now. But we developed them at a reasonable writing level for that student. How many kids, even good readers, can write at their reading level? Very, very few. Most students do not write at their reading level, and they're presented constantly with models of writing at their reading level instead of at their writing level. So one of the things we found very powerful is to present them with challenging models within their grasp. What would it be like for a 9-year-old who's doing well to write on this topic? Let's look at a few of those. It helps them a lot. There's a lot of interactive but explicit learning of strategies. There's a lot of discussion, a lot of cognitive modeling. We explicitly develop self-regulation of the writing process and the reading process, which I'll show you. We work really hard to give kids more positive beliefs about themselves as writers. K1, 2, no problem. These kids still love to write. What happens right around 3rd grade, 8 years old? Right? Writing's hard. I'm beginning to tell that other people are good at it and I'm not. And we begin to get really negative attitudes. We directly challenge those attitudes. We replace them with an understanding that if you work hard to learn the strategies, I work hard to teach them to you, and you work hard to then use them, you're going to look better as a writer. And then they assess their own performance throughout instruction and after, and they see that they're better, and they then believe. We have kids on video talking about this, and I'll have a link you can look at later. They then realize and believe that becoming a good writer is hard work. But if I get taught what I need to know and I put forth the effort to learn it, I can write. All right, there are 6 stages of instruction. They go back and forth and round and round. It's teacher decision-making driven. SRSD, I think a key reason we get really large effect sizes, and I will show them to you in a second, is it's built for teacher ownership. This is not a curriculum book. It's not Monday morning, spend 15 minutes doing this, and Tuesday morning, go over here and do 20 minutes of that. It is not built that way. There are criterion steps that kids have to go through. Do I have this much background knowledge? Can I now read an essay and find all the main parts? Can I now write a good topic sentence? As they reach these criterion, they go further. And teachers know what the criterion are, and they know when to push further. But in your classroom, that might take, the developed background knowledge might take 2 20-minute lessons. You got some pretty sharp kids with good background knowledge. But I go over to your classroom, and it might take 3 or 4 20-minute lessons to get the language, academic language. What is a fact? What is an opinion? What does it mean to persuade? What does it mean to explain? Why should I put all kids on your timetable when some kids need your timetable? One of the first things you'll have to do as an ed leader with SRSD is give teachers the freedom to take the time they need to get to the criterion kids need to keep going. Now the good news is it still doesn't take all that long. That data is easily available. All right. Teachers adjust all of these different things to their kids' needs, and I'm not going to sit here and read it to you. You can kind of skim it. I'll give it back to you. I've got example articles of what teachers have done, looking in classrooms. If you'd like them, I'm happy to send you anything you want. This gradual release of teacher support is absolutely critical, but I'm preaching to the choir, right? We all know that scaffolding is really, really important, and that if we back off too fast, kids may not have it, and then they'll fall. It's like teaching a kid to ride a bike. I don't want to let go until I'm pretty sure that bike's not going to fall over on the kid. So what we do is we have little checks to see where they are. We give them this much to do alone, and if it's still a struggle for them, we back up a little bit. We help them a little bit more. But it's all built into the instruction. Teachers just have to apply these little checks and know where each kid is, and they do it beautifully. Now, it's been declared an evidence-based practice. I mean, we've been doing research on SRSD since 1982, and so that's a really long time. And finally, in the last decade, the movement toward evidence-based practices came along, at least all over the world, Australia, the US, and so what we see is people looking now for that database, and suddenly it mattered what we'd been doing. So that's really nice. Multiple groups have looked at the evidence base. There are over 100 studies in over 12 countries. Let's focus on two things that just started in Australia. I just found out about right before we came here. I have talked with several people in Australia over the years. Gail Brown isn't on here, but she's another professional development person in Australia who's been interested, and it finally took fruit. Jenny Slade is a learning and support teacher in New South Wales. She's more than happy to talk to any of you. She took the SRSD online course independently. She had no help. Can outstanding teachers take the course, interact with that online course instructors, and come out ready to teach? In both of these groups, the answer is yes, because the courses are so carefully broken down, and there are checks for the teachers along the way. However, our research on professional development and your knowledge of what it takes to move teachers who are maybe less motivated than these teachers makes it clear that many teachers will need on-the-ground backup and support, not just an online course. If you'd like to talk to Jenny and her colleagues, they are finding good success and meaningful changes for their students. This pre-service teacher, I found talking with her through email fascinating. Because of the ethical guidelines for classroom-based projects in teacher preparation, she can't release any of the data, not even pre and post kid writing, which is too bad, but it's understandable. She's, however, happy to talk to anybody who would like to know in general more about how the kids started, where the kids ended up. She's not, although she's just finishing her teacher certification, this is not her first career. She was an academic before. And she has degrees in bioscience and bioscience neurology. So she's a pretty sharp cookie, and she'd more than love to talk to you about what her kids have done. Effect sizes, I'm going to blow through them, but I have to at least mention them. Post-SRSD, quality elements length, number of studies. You can skim the effect sizes. We don't often work on length as a goal. We work on quality first, and elements and characteristics, and we don't call it voice. We work on adapt to the reader. When kids adapt to the reader and say things to get the reader's attention and say things that they know, hey, the principal's not going to love the idea that we should put a soda machine in the school because I want more sugar in a day. The principal's going to need some reasons that are much more convincing to a principal. And kids come up with stuff like, we can show you how responsible we are, and we'll show you. So they know what an adult cares about, and they do well on that assignment. So we get these huge effect sizes. At maintenance, the effect sizes are still quite large. At generalization, this means from reasonable writing task to reasonable writing task. If I teach you to write a story, it's going to improve your performance on personal narrative. It's not going to make you better at argument writing. Those genres are too separate from each other. Kids need instruction in all three: informative, narrative, persuasive, I put it together, opinion, persuasive, argumentative. This one we cannot seem to agree on the language for, but it is the hottest of the three right now. Okay, what did these kids learn? Well, the mnemonics are the icing on the cake. We all know the memory research, right? Think about it for a minute. What does a mnemonic do? How many of you learned mnemonics that are still with you today? Every good boy does fine. The planets, which you know, right? The mnemonics are nothing more than a frame that we can hang everything else on. But the kids know them and can explain them, not just tell you POW has these parts, the reading strategy has these parts, not just tell you what the parts are, but why each part matters. Topic sentence. What's important about a topic sentence? What makes a good one? I need a hook. I need to be clear about what I believe. or I need to be clear about what I'm going to inform you about. They can explain all of this. Our kindergarten and first grade students have been learning POW, which is a pre-writing, think about what I'm going to say, make some notes, a pre-writing strategy, and they've been learning a very simple version of TREE, not the one you see up here. Our grades 2-3 kids, we're not working with source text for them. They're learning POW and the more elaborated TREE. But that's not all they're learning, you know that. And our 4th, 5th, 6th grade kids are learning the whole package. Now, none of these kids have come into the study having had this instruction the year before. Can you imagine with me what it would look like if my grade 4 kid came into this classroom and had already had grades 1, 2, and 3? Where I could be? And in Tennessee and in the States is the first place we're seeing this. They've been doing SRSD now for 4 years statewide, and we are seeing kids roll into the next grade and go much further than the kids before them because they're rolling in with all that knowledge already. Embedded throughout.
Go back and do that, don't pee.
Oh, don't pee in the classroom. You notice this one, right? So our research and the research of many others shows that teachers and school leaders are tempted to just teach this. Just teach the mnemonic. Tell the kids what the reading strategy is composed of. Tell them what, and you might even model it once. So you post, you explain, you even model, and you expect kids to now do it. There's no scaffolding. There's no development of the background knowledge they need. There is no supported collaborative writing before independent writing. You want to guess what happens when teachers pee in the classroom? It's not good. And then they say SRSD doesn't work. Well, you got to do all of it for it to work. All of this is embedded in the instruction. Again, I'll let you skim through this. We spend so much time on topic, audience, and purpose. Sometimes teachers call it TAP. They introduce another mnemonic. That's fine with me. We talk about pulling apart the prompts. We think about considering your reader, considering what that reader will care about. We talk about so much. One of the things I really want to take a few seconds on is this whole notion that suddenly persuasive writing, argumentative writing is the king of the three. It's like the most adored aspect or genre of writing in the US right now. It worries me. Deborah Tannen wrote a wonderful book where she talked about how we've gone too far with argument. She called it Stopping the War of Words. It's a beautiful book. Yet we've just seen published an article saying that argumentative reasoning is the highlight of all reasoning, the pinnacle of all learning. How about learning to understand before we worry about arguing? Anyways, I just want to say that what we have done in response to some of these concerns is our kids never write on only one side. Now, I'm not going to have a topic like wearing a bike helmet and ask them to write against it. I'm not going to do that. So we deliberately have topics in instruction that you can have good, solid arguments for at least 2 sides, if not 3. So we have school uniforms, for example, right? And we have others along that line. So you've seen all the different things we're working on, and this is grades 1 through 5, and there's more when they get older. All throughout instruction, they are explicitly given examples of good linking, really, good linking words, attention getters, wrapping it up right. Okay, talk about wrapping it up right, let's go fast. They learn to self-regulate the writing process. They set goals. They keep track of their performance. They self-reinforce. This is a pre-test rocket in a classroom we worked in recently. These 3 rockets represent collaborative writing with the teacher. No way you're not going to have a full rocket. No way I'm letting go of that bike and let you fall. This kid was ready to write alone by the 4th time and had more than the minimum characteristics and parts for their writing. With older kids, we don't use rockets. We use something a little more mature, like bar graphs or line charts. Self-statements, we don't get to look at many of these, but I want to, I can check my work. I am a great writer in my head, right? Read it again. You used your brain. Use TWA. Check your planning sheet. we have on your handout, you have a superintendent talking about walking into a classroom and seeing kids engage in this thinking to themselves out loud while they were working, and he gives great examples. All right, so we've looked at good reasons why the effect sizes are so large. It's not formulaic rote writing. I'm right on time. This link we're not going to watch today, but this link, if you'd like to see it, are teachers and kids talking about what they think about SRSD instruction after it's over with, and it's really a nice little piece that they've done. You have a handout that gives you many more resources and materials, the large majority of which are free or cost less than $28. And you have access to both SRSD Online and Think SRSD. Now, both of them, if you have schools you want to get started, and then you want to do maybe a trainer of trainers model. Let's get some people who are good at it, and then I don't have to invest as much money to go to the next group. Maybe I use the course sporadically here and there. Maybe we get this embedded in some of our pre-service teaching courses. That's beginning to happen in the States now. They'll work out pricing with you. Remember, these are nonprofits, and they're eager to get this in schools. Both of these two nonprofits are headed by former teachers who then became ed leaders, who then went into professional development, and then chose SRSD to focus on.